Hello, so last time I briefly mentioned the word pressure as yet another pretentious word that's probably not needed in mapping in the first place. I said I would talk more about this word in a later video and, well, here it is. So my definition of pressure links pretty heavily with strain. While strain is the amount of work on a single object, pressure is the amount of strain over time, or the amount of work over multiple objects. Likewise, while strain and uncomfortable movement are pretty much describing the same thing, pressure describes the same thing as intensity. Roughly, you'll probably have heard the word intensity used before, and it very loosely means how difficult something is. While intensity usually describes the actual mapping, and sometimes the music, pressure refers to what the player feels when playing the map, and it can sometimes have an impact on how they play. Generally, high pressure stuff will be more difficult to play, while low pressure stuff isn't. It doesn't take a genius to work out how to use pressure. Fast-paced, intense parts of the song should have high pressure, usually that's the choruses, and slower, calmer sections of the music should use lower pressure. I pretty much already explained how to manipulate pressure too. It's just the strain stuff I talked about last video, only with more objects. Long streams and large jump sections cause high pressure, while long, slow sliders and sparse rhythms will cause low pressure. I shouldn't need to be this handholdy, right? But is the concept of pressure just as simple as that? If you answered no, then, well, you're correct. Let's introduce a word that is necessary for us. Stamina. This is the player's ability to sustain physical or mental effort, and yes, I did just take that straight from Google. The toll on a player's stamina has a direct impact on the amount of pressure they feel as they play. As we probably all experienced at some point, long jump or stream sections eventually start to make our arm or hand tired. Attempting to continue playing these kinds of sections while tired will put extra pressure on the player, especially if they're trying to hold their combo. This is especially the case for longer maps which have solos or intense choruses near the end of a song. The player is probably already tired, they are already under pressure from trying to keep their combo for that sweet PP, and you decide to add long streams and larger jumps for the final section just because it matches the intensity of the song. That's pretty cool, mapper. Good job though, I like it. Not that this is necessarily bad though, but it's the reason why the ranking criteria decides to be boring and recommends breaks for long maps and lower difficulties. Depending on the map, there may not be much you can do about this, but, well, it's something to keep in mind. As with strain, pressure can be felt either on the tapping hand or the movement hand. Sections with many circles, especially at 1/4 timing or higher, will add pressure on the tapping hand, while sections with large spacing or fast sliders will cause pressure on the movement hand. There's also a weird case where the pressure may go in the opposite direction, depending on the speed of the map and experience of the player. The easiest way to show this is by showing you how much of a scrub I am. As a lowly 5-digit, I struggle with longer 200 BPM streams, but I'm fine with keeping up a 120 BPM stream for 4 minutes. My stamina doesn't take too much of a toll on these longer but slower streams, and so I become comfortable keeping up this play for a long time rather than getting tired quickly. This all comes down to the experience of the player, and can separate maps to be barely passable for some players and comfortable full combos for others. This is partly why most maps that are considered to be farm maps tend to have plenty of large jumps, the other part being taking advantage of PP calculation. Experienced players are more comfortable and not so pressured at playing these large jumps consecutively, which makes them easy targets for full combos and the gain of some free juicy PP. If you want to keep a player on their toes and pressured through a map, you will want to add strain and pressure through lots of variation. Rhythm, angles, slider velocity, as many things as reasonably possible. Pressure also plays a role in what's personally my least favourite part about mapping: difficulty spread. Ideally, a good map spread for an intermediate player would have at least one difficulty that is comfortable for the player to pass, several that are easy full combos, and 1 or 2 that are decent challenges or future goals, unless you're the kind of mapper who extends MP3s to approval, in which case shame on you. Difficulty of a map would be based on the average and peak amount of pressure a player would feel on a map, but there is one glaring issue with using pressure to judge difficulty. How do you even do it? Pressure is just some silly word I borrowed from the dictionary to describe what the player feels in the map. It's a subjective thing what players feel as pressure and how much they feel of it. The best thing we have of quantifying pressure and intensity is through the map's star rating, but the algorithm to calculate that is mostly based on spacing, and usually underrates sliders and uncomfortable movement. So we can't really use my made up concept to help give us quantities of how hard a map is, or at least I haven't figured out a way anyway. All you may get out of this is subjective judgments, which may or may not help you with your own maps and modding someone else's. Is everything I said in this video a waste of time though? I don't know. That's subjective too. But I will be reusing this word in the future, so there's that I guess. I'll let you be the judge of whether this was useless or not. I hope you can handle the pressure. Why the hell did I add that into the script?